Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Chad from Chad DIY, and today I'm going to break down how I started my $1,000 a month 3D printing side hustle. I'm going to go through what machines I use, where I sell these products. I'll show some of the products I do sell as well as how I price them. So if that interests you, I hope you stick around and let's get started. All right, so let's jump into the machines I currently use. I won't call this really a print farm. I've heard some of these referred to as a print garden. I have three main machines that I use to run my business. So the top two machines are Bambu P1Ss, and then if you can see down below, I have a Bambu P1P. And now the huge advantage of these machines, I'm coming from using Enders to sell my products, Ender 3s. And the speed of these machines, you see it online, they talk about how much faster they are, but it really is incredible. I'm going 3 to 4 times faster on making a product compared to those Enders. All right, checking out these top two machines, the P1Ss. I have just a regular one there, and then the one on the left here has the AMS. Now, what I like about the AMS, I'm able to, fill it up with 4 different colors. Someone maybe can help me out on this. I was hoping when I got that AMS system that I could slice one file and then choose which color I printed on in the AMS. Now, as far as I can tell, that's not the case. So this has added some complexity to the situation where basically you have to slice a file for all 4 different colors, which is fine if you don't sell that many products. I think I have roughly around a little over 20 products I sell, physical 3D printed products. So then if you're offering them in 4 different colors, you're past 80 different files when you're scrolling through. So kind of the pros and cons of the AMS. If someone's out there that knows a different way of doing it, I was hoping I could just have basically my 20 different slice files and then just choose what color I want from the AMS. Doesn't really work out that way. So if I could kind of do it over again, I probably would have, instead of spending the money on the AMS, gotten another machine really, and then just having the different colors on each separate machine probably is going to be easier in the future going forward, just selecting those colors. So where are these machines set this is basically the corner of my garage here, and I built this kind of custom enclosure where it's all welded tube and then I added plywood. But one of the main reasons, so I'll shut these doors here, the main reason for doing this is it's a garage, it can get dusty, so I have this kind of enclosed. This is just a welded metal frame. I think 3/4 inch tubing is what I use, just plexiglass, kind of spaced in for what plexiglass I had. And there's kind of 2 benefits to doing an enclosure like this. I know these P1Ss have their own enclosure to kind of keep the heat in or whatever, but so main issue for one thing is keeping dust out. But also, so I live in Minnesota, a cold climate. My garage isn't heated all the time. So what this does for these enclosures is it keeps the heat in. So when these machines are running, the garage can kind of be cooler than the enclosure itself. So what do I do to keep heat in if the garage is cold? Well, basically I have this little 500 watt electric heater that, say come out, the garage is only 40 degrees. I don't really want to print if it's below 50 in this enclosure. So I get up to 50. I have this, I don't know if you can see, this little digital thermostat there so I can tell what the temperature is. And so then I can kind of get that enclosure the temp I want. And really it goes pretty fast. I might turn this on for 10, 15 minutes. And then once the enclosure is, let's say 50 degrees, once these machines turn on and running, obviously there's heating elements for the bed and the hot end. So the temperature stays nice in this enclosure. So kind of, I know this is kind of a custom setup for my situation, living in Minnesota. Other people have other situations down south, they're dealing with humidity and stuff, so not a huge issue for me, but this enclosure is kind of a necessity. I don't want to really print in my house. I don't know. I think they say, I print in PLA and they say it's not like harmful or whatever, but I just like to keep everything out in the garage. So that's kind of my setup, my machines, and how I run it that way. All right, now that I kind of went over my 3D printers, what I use, we'll kind of touch base on what I actually sell. Now these are just kind of a few of my products. So my YouTube channel, Chad DIY, kind of do woodworking, laser cutter, 3D printing, that kind of stuff. So it's that's kind of my niche, so I try to sell products in that niche because I kind of try to promote these products with my YouTube channel as well. So a few of my products here are just some kind of just basic holders. So these are just for some drill bits and stuff. You can mount it to the wall. A little organizer. Here's another thing. It's a wood glue holder. Simple, right? So all these I design myself. I don't take any products off Thingiverse or anything and resell them. I'm not against that if that's the route you choose to go. I personally design all my products and print them myself, so then no one can say I copied them or whatever. So these are all kind of unique to me. Not that people don't sell similar stuff, but yeah, that's kind of where I go with that. But so this glue holder kind of just holds a standard bottle wood glue type bond, but it also I put a hole in it, and so you can hang it upside down. Kind of cool idea, I thought. And so when I'm coming up with product ideas, I kind of just look around my garage, kind of see what I might need, and then kind of go from there. So for this wood glue holder, for example, so I have my wood glue on the shelf. Well, one of the issues is when the wood glue gets towards empty, you gotta try, when you're trying to use it, you gotta hit it, try to get that glue to the bottom. I don't know, little minor inconvenience. So I came up with this wood glue holder that you can, if it's full ball, hold upright, but you can also just store it upside down. So you can screw it to your workbench or whatever, and it's always just ready to go, ready to glue right away. So just kind of some ideas like that. Just I encourage you to kind of look around your space, what your niche is going to be. One of my other niches, I guess, is this is a laser cutting jig, I guess. So to the side of me down there, kind of scrolling shot, I have a sea of laser cutters. So that's kind of another part of my small business, if you will. And so I print 3D jigs for that. So kind of still all in my niche, but there are a million niches out there. I know it's sometimes can feel challenging, like what am I going to print and sell, but just kind of my words are to see what you're into and just kind of go from there so you're excited about the products. All right, now moving on to how I ship my items and where I sell my items. So I sell my items in one place, and that is Etsy. Now Etsy to me has been really easy to use to set up a shop. It also works really well for selling different colors. And so some of those other sites I looked at, like Amazon or eBay, as far as I can tell, you can't just have the customer easily select different colors. You'd have to have different listings. So that's, I guess, why I lean towards Etsy, and it's worked out really well for me. I know there people complain about their fees and having your own shop. You don't pay as many fees, but they market to the world, and that's something I just don't at this point have the time to do. So I kind of let them handle that, and I just handle making the products and shipping them out. Now my shipping process is pretty straightforward, as you can see behind me. Probably can't see all the way, but basically this is a rack of different sized cardboard boxes. Now, when in the shipping game with Etsy, there's some, I guess, tricks to it, just as far as trying to get that shipping as cheap as possible and do it in an economical way. So when you get kind of used to the system, there are different ounce thresholds for the product weight that it doesn't matter as much the size of the box, really. It's more the product weight. So once you cross over like 4 ounces, you're paying more. Once you cross over 8 ounces, you're paying more. I think a pound and 13 ounces, you're paying more. So there's different weight thresholds. So that's, I guess, important for me to have all these different size boxes so I can choose the best box for the different products, or if I get multiple sales of one product, I can choose a perfectly sized box. So the weight of the shipment is going to be as low as possible, and then that helps save on cost of shipping. And now with shipping and selling with Etsy, there's a few different options. And you can offer free shipping, you cannot offer free shipping. What I have done is I offer free shipping on orders over $35. Now this seems to work out fine. I try to do free shipping, but then some of these products are, you kind of have to adjust for that. So basically free shipping is never free, like you're just raising the price of your product. But so kind of the sweet spot I found is that $35 threshold. I think people will a lot of times order more to hit that $35 threshold, because normally, say like a little glue holder like this, I think they're probably paying say I sell this for $10 and they're paying probably $6 is what Etsy charges them, maybe even more now, to have the ship. So it kind of, I don't know, to instead of charging 10, you charge 16 for this, and it's just like this tiny little piece of plastic. I don't know. To me, it seemed to work out fine. People haven't really complained to me too much about not offering free shipping, because I can let them know, hey, if you get to that $35 threshold, it will be free. So I do print out all my labels from Etsy, just the website. I think they offer cheaper shipping that way anyways. And basically I just have cardboard boxes, standard packing material. I do have a digital scale, and so just I kind of know a lot of my products, how much they weigh now going out, so I don't have to weigh them. But if I get an order with kind of multiple items and I'm not quite sure, the digital scale is key for that. So basically you don't need too much in the shipping process, and you could just get bigger boxes too when you're first starting out, because I figure each box is, I mean, some of them, the bigger ones are about $1 a piece, so that definitely adds to the cost of everything. So I try to buy in bulk, keep those dollar amounts down, but then you do have to spend some on inventory as well. All right, so finally we'll talk about how I price my items and how I get up to that $1,000 a month selling these products on Etsy. So I have probably terrible advice on how I price my products, because in a lot of ways I just kind of wing it. And what I mean by winging it is I've seen people with formulas about how long it takes to print, how much the filament costs, all these different numbers. And to me, I don't think you can just go by that. I think you have to go by what are similar products selling for, and then adjust from there. So some of my products are completely unique. There's nothing really to compare to, so that gets a little bit more challenging. But that being said, you are just kind of selling some plastic, so I don't know how much you can really shoot for a higher price. But a lot of my products do have some competition. So I'm looking at what that competition is selling it for, and in my mind, I gotta be in that range. I usually try to be at that range or maybe even slightly below it. No, I don't. I think there's like the race to the bottom, they call it, where everyone keeps lowering their prices. I don't get that crazy. I still need to make a profit and make my time worth it for doing it. But that's kind of my strategy, is to search for similar products, see how much they're going for, and price it accordingly. Now, breaking down how I get around $1,000 a month, now that can definitely vary. Sometimes it's $1,200, sometimes it's $800. Definitely varies with the season too, but I'll just take this last month. I looked, and I did in the last 30 days, it was 42 sales. And so I think, and it was a little over $1,000. I think it averaged about $24 a sale. So granted, there's all these expenses that have to be paid. It's not just I get $1,000 and there's shipping, there's filament. I get my filament on Amazon, and so I always like to keep a nice stock of that so I don't run out. But definitely that's not all profit, so important to remember. But yeah, I do think it's definitely possible to get there yourself. So if you have any questions on my 3D printing business, please leave them in that comment section below. I always try my best to get back to them. And just want to say I'm definitely not an expert at any of this. This is a side hustle for me, but to me, when I was starting out, I was watching a lot of videos like this. There wasn't a ton, there's more now, but it really interests me, the whole process. So hopefully I can kind of give someone a little start on that. So as always, I'm Chad from Chad DIY, and we'll see you on the next one.